the perfect red heifer, the perfect sanctuary, the perfect. Are we perhaps paying a little too much attention to the perfect? In fact, are we still idolizing? Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hey, Rabbi. How's it going?
How you doing?
I'm doing
Great.
pretty good.
Fantastic.
I actually feel crummy because for the best reason possible, because I got my first vaccination shot yesterday. And
I'm up tomorrow, so
good. Thank God. Yeah, it's everyone should get vaccinated. Everyone should get vaccinated, and be kind to yourself.
let's do a whole session on that.
Okay, we should. We should actually. That's
There
a
would
good
be
idea.
no debate, though. There really would be
No, there would be absolutely no debate. And absolutely. And if you feel a little crummy, it's okay. That it comes with the territory. So I'm going to try and keep my energy up for you. I promise.
All right.
But it's interesting. So when I went yesterday, I actually went up in Boca, and there was National Guard there, and there was a huge security presence there. And I was actually thinking to myself, I wonder if that's I wonder if there have been threats about people wanting to kind of steal vaccine. They said no, but I couldn't help but think that here we are. Here I am. I'll just say here I am, and I am idolizing for the best reasons this little vial of whatever is in there, because it seems to me that is that's just what we need, and in any case, the reason I bring that up is because I was looking at this week. It's Shabbat Parah, it's the Shabbat of the cow. And as soon as I saw Shabbat Parah, I immediately started thinking about the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, which of course this isn't. This is the Parah Adumah. But it got me thinking about all the things in our lives that we are still idolizing. Whether it's that golden ticket when it comes to a pandemic, or things that perhaps are a little more nefarious, right? The way that we idolize money, the way that we idolize stardom, it's not funny, I guess, that we have a show called American Idol, where we continually put people up on a pedestal. We put things up on a pedestal. We don't seem to have learned our lesson from the Torah. So why don't we start with that? I mean, what would you say?
Right.
What would you say is the lesson from the Torah about idolatry? Bad, good, otherwise? What do you say?
Right. Look, we've got the Torah portion of the golden calf. Okay, Moses is up receiving the tablets from God. The people get restless. Come, make us a god, they say to Aaron. And he takes their jewelry, he melts it all down, and he forms a glittering golden calf. Okay? And the people see it and they exclaim, "This is our God." Okay? This is the one who brought us out of the land of Egypt. And that incident is really the primary example of idolatry in Jewish tradition. The people replaced the worship of an ineffable, omnipotent God with a human-made, hastily constructed, very showy, glitzy tchotchke. Right? And now
I know one or two things about glowy, glitzy tchotchkes, by the way. I'm a big fan.
All right. Well, we can talk about why those might be your own idols there. All right, but look, the problem is with that story. I mean, it's a nice story, but the problem with that story is that by understanding idol worship in that way, the biblical stories and texts really lose their relevance. Okay, it's hard to find too many Jews, or for that matter, too many others in modern society itching to bow down to some clay statuette. Okay, it's equally hard to imagine why it was so alluring to do that, and that's because I think the modern reading of idolatry and idol worship is a little bit incorrect. Okay, idol worship doesn't necessarily mean, all right, to kneel down, to praise, to beseech immovable objects created by questionable craftsmen, but rather, I think that oversimplifies pagan beliefs, which were, yes, from ancient times, but I think we're giving ancient people short shrift when we suggest that this is somehow not, that they weren't as intelligent as we are today. Right? I think it's clear that it is clear in a number of situations number of cases where pagans did not believe that a specific idol was a god itself, but rather a representation of a god, or a tool that was used to communicate with a deity. And we can understand that, and we can appreciate that.
I just want to interrupt you for a moment. And I have two thoughts. The first is, you're talking about pagans and idol worship, and the first thing that pops into my mind is that, the rabbis, I think, really tried to work hard to keep us from idolatry. We don't know where Mount Sinai is. We don't know where Moshe is buried. But they would only do that if they were worried that we would fall into that trap. So my first thought is, this wasn't just pagans. This was all of us.
That's right. And this is where I think we're going. I'm assuming we're going in that direction. Oh yeah, all right.
Sorry,
sprinkling
wrong button.
That was sprinkling gold money.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about that.
I think that regardless of idol worshiper theology or intentions, a much more accurate reading, right, of idol worship is the idea, right, of trying to avoid to emulate the ways of the nations. Right? Avodah zarah, right, one of the words we use for idol worship, really means foreign worship. Right? And I think there's a whole tractate in the Talmud about this. Right? That during biblical times, right, what was it that they didn't want us to do? They didn't want us to emulate the surrounding cultures, and at that time, the surrounding cultures happened to be idolatrous or pagan. Okay, where I think we need to come to, and where I think idolatry plays a more significant and valuable role in our thinking today, is the idea that idolatry is bowing down to the work of our hands. It's worshiping what we create. It's turning tokens of our own manufacture into totems of ultimate worth. Right? Idolatry is the veneration of the objects we ourselves have made.
That's what a beautiful way of saying it. In the show notes that you and I share, I linked to an article that I read, and there was one piece of it that really jumped out at me. I don't know if I can put it up on the screen or not. I'll look at that. I can. It says, does your synagogue contribute, is that what I want?
I did like that.
Moses treated the tablets of the Torah like idols when he smashed them because he felt the people did not deserve them. I treated the Torah scroll like an idol when I was overly careful of the scroll itself and carelessly hurt the feelings of a child. We treat the Torah scroll as an idol in our congregations when we parade it gloriously through our synagogues on Shabbat, but don't internalize and put into practice its teachings of justice. And then the next one is actually, does your synagogue contribute as much money to social justice efforts as it does to maintaining the beauty of its buildings? I loved that because I think we do. I think we do idolize the Torah. I think we do idolize even those things that we they are sacred in our faith. We are sacred in they're sacred in our practice. They also can fall prey to being idolized.
Because I think that there's a fine line between those things as tools of our worship or tools that assist us in our connection with God, and seeing them as the ultimate, maybe not necessarily a God, but that we see them as the ultimate item, and not just as a tool that and I think about the amulets and images that we have, and Torah scroll is only one of them. You got tefillin, you got mezuzahs, and you have places too, that people come to me and they bring me bring me a mezuzah, right? That they no longer, they're moving, they don't need it anymore, right? And it's a metal box. Right? It's a stamped metal, probably made in China. Right. And they say, I can't get rid of this. This is, this is holy. And I say, no, it's a metal box. Okay. Or
I've often felt that way, by the way, about a kippah.
I was just about to do that.
Yeah. I grew up. I know.
No, it's just a piece of cloth. Okay.
So wait, it's a
reminder.
I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this. So
okay, wait. Before you do that, don't be saying anything that you're going to get into trouble about.
Okay, I won't say that. But I'll just say that I grew up learning that when a kippah drops on the floor, you pick it up and kiss it, and I had to unlearn that. That it's just a hat. Now I don't want to diminish. This is a very powerful symbol to me. I wear it all the time. But it is just a symbol.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I think where we've got to, we really have to break away from the things that are just symbols, but have become over time way more than that. Right? Yeah. Where just they become objects of veneration themselves.
Let me ask you. You talked before about spaces, and so I want to ask you about the sanctuary. I've watched. We've all watched. It feels like a million different Shabbat services online, and I would say half of the ones that I've watched are being led from in the sanctuary, like you and the cantor do. The other half are the different leaders are in their homes or their respective places, and maybe they have a virtual background up. And my sense is that those who are leading from the sanctuary, at least in part, feel like that space is important for people to see, to feel like they still have a connection to it. And so my question is, do you feel like this pandemic and all of us having to be away from those sacred spaces, do you think our relationship to them will be changed after this? Will we still think of the sanctuary? Will we still think of it in the same way, or will we now maybe even more think of it as a sacred space that deserves our attention, our adoration,
or maybe less?
Right.
Okay. That I think about that decision that we made a year ago, as this was just coming up, and our adamant desire to if it was all possible and it was legal, and it was safe that we could lead services from the sanctuary. And it was not so much because we needed to be in that space because that's the only place of holiness. Right? That's not the case. Right? For me, it was far more about a sense of connection, a sense of familiarity, a sense of, as everything else is swirling around us and unsure, that we could give the community just a view of something that looked familiar.
Yeah.
Okay? But if we knew what we knew then, what we know now then, maybe we would have done services outside. And we've done services outside because we, as a people, don't believe that you need to be in one place. We don't idolize the sanctuary. Okay, if the sanctuary, God forbid, burned to the ground, okay, we could still get together the next Friday and do services, okay? Right. and have a holy moment. And I would even gander a guess that those services would be more sacred because there was a reminder that we don't have this, and what is really important are the people who fill that space, wherever that space is.
Yeah, I shameless plug. I wasn't planning on this, but in my book, The Search for the Sacred, available on Amazon, I talk about how Judaism has actually morphed. Right, in the biblical period, space was the locale of sanctity. In bushes, in rocks, in the Holy Temple, in the Mishkan, and then when the rabbinic period began, that really shifted from space to time. And now I think we are continuing to be in a third transformation. And Marty actually is watching, and he actually shared this comment, and it's really perfect, where he says, we've already held services outside and at the beach, so the seeds were planted that we don't always have to worship there. And to me, at least, what Marty is bringing up is that it's not about space and it's not about time. It's about a state of mind. It's right wherever we are, whenever we are, we can create sanctity, and it doesn't have to be stuck in one spot that we idolize, or one time even that we idolize.
And so I think that you're absolutely correct, Marty. I appreciate the comment. Where I'm going to even, yes, you are correct. Many partners are waiting with bated breath so we can come back to the sanctuary. But again, I don't think it is as much about the sanctuary as it is about coming together and being together. The sanctuary is just a tool, right? And a very familiar and wonderful tool. And there is warmth in the sanctuary, and there is a sense of holiness because of the lighting and the way it's set up. Where I want to go is that there are lots of things that we idolize. Right? There are lots of things that we set up in our lives that become idols that don't have to be. People idolize materialism, right? They idolize money because they see that as the ultimate, what becomes the ultimate, and they venerate money in and of itself. Okay, but money isn't necessarily bad, right? Money, right? There are lots of people who do incredible things with money. Money is simply a tool. If I worship it, if I stand around and I look at all of my artwork that I have collected in my house. All right, and I sit in front of my safe, and I count out my money, and I watch it, and I look at it, and I hold on to gold or whatever it is. That's idolizing, okay? But what if I took those things and I created an art museum, okay? And I shared it with the world, right? Is it that the art is being idolized, or is it a tool by which I can bring beauty into the world?
So here's what I'm hearing, and this is fascinating, is that, and I'll just use the golden calf as an example. The Egel HaZahav, the golden calf itself, was not the problem. It's our relationship to the golden calf that was the problem. So if people say money is the root of all evil, or politics is the root, no, it's not. It's our relationship to those things. I can use money for good. I could use the golden calf for good. I could use power for, which to me feels like one of the most troublesome things that we idolize. But that also can be used for good. It's all about our relationship to the item. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I would say, is that the golden calf was used as a god, okay? Right. But in the same way as the gold in the golden calf, right, does not equal holiness, right? Neither does the presence of a Torah scroll, right, equal the presence of Torah itself, the learning.
Yeah.
Right? So my carrying this around, all right, if I'm carrying my Torah scroll around, all right, and I am, all right, doing all kinds of illegal and immoral things, right, then that Torah scroll has become an idol.
Right. What is it? Mitzvah haba ba'avera, right? That you can't perform, I can't steal from that store in order to do a mitzvah by feeding the hungry down the street.
Right.
So there's you said something different than I thought you were going to say. The Torah isn't representative of Torah, meaning learning. I thought you were going to say the Torah isn't representative of God. And Marty, who, by the way, love you, Marty, you're killing it with the comments. But Marty said, and this is fascinating, right? That in the Frisco Kid, he decides to save the life instead of the Torah. And so what I heard in your comment was that the Torah is not the symbol of God. You, me, the other person that's in front of me, they are, as we all know from the Torah, the image of God, the symbol of God.
The lived message of the Torah is what is important, not the scroll itself. Because eventually that scroll is going to get put into the ground. Right?
As will all people.
True.
But just their bodies, not the neshama. Not the godly part.
Okay, but people hold on to Torah scrolls forever and ever and ever because they think that these are absolutely, there's no way that they could be gotten rid of. Right? Yeah. The truth is that
they can be,
because they idolize the scroll itself, not the words that are inside of it.
Right. So our challenge for this week, if you all want a challenge, I'm not sure why you do, but for our challenge for this week then is for me, it's to begin by looking at what is my relationship with the most important things in my life. And I'm not thinking of the good things, I'm thinking of the things that I might idolize. What is my relationship with them? And how can I transform that? How can I change that? If I am idolizing those things, how can I make sure that at the very least I'm doing it for good? I'm doing it for tzedek, for righteousness. And what are the things? How am I prioritizing things in my life? Am I putting people first, always. And then I'll just say, not that this is a therapy session, but for me, that's always, I get very focused in my work. And it's really easy for me to kind of ignore someone who's at the door, right? Because I get uber focused, and it's almost as if I come to idolize my work, and I have to remember that it's not about that. It's about the people. It's about what you said, the lived expression of God's will. I think what was, just that's what it's about.
Yeah,
living that every day.
Wow.
Beautiful, Rabbi. Thanks.
Hey, thank you
Nice
again.
Good luck tomorrow. Stay healthy, and everyone, yes, everyone stay healthy, and please God, we'll see you next week when we'll be celebrating a brand new year. What? See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.